Good morning. We got this broken drawer here, and we just discarded it because it's made from junk, and we built us a Cadillac drawer right here. If you want to see how we did it, stay tuned because that's what we're going to do today. Good morning and welcome to another Memphis Monday 323 today. Well, a couple of weeks ago we built those gray tables, and the folks that we built them for, they said, well, you know, I got a broken drawer that I need fixed. And I said, well, bring it over. My God, they did. And today we're going to fix it. So I don't know exactly what we got yet, but let's discover it together. And to do that, we need to knock off the chit chat and get to work. Here's our broken drawer, and I can already see. I don't think we can fix it. First of all, it's made out of this pressed fiber board. It's not even, you know, it's just crumbling apart. Same here. It's got some of these proprietary drawer slide deals that how they work is there's a little notch here that goes into this slot. So I think we're going to have to completely rebuild this drawer. See, it's warped. So I don't know what caused that, but that'll never work. And I took the drawer slides off, and they're twisted. So we're going to have to unbend these drawer slides. That one's not as bad. Well, let me come up with a plan. Well, I came up with a plan. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a prototype. Since this is a small project, I'll make a prototype and make sure I know what I'm doing, and then we'll go from there. This is the box where this is the good example they brought, and here's the broken one over here. Let's look at the plan. Here's a little drawing I did of what we're going to try to build. I find it helpful to sketch what I'm drawing so I can think about the joinery and how the thing's going to fit together. But this is the actual plan, or it's really a plan and a cut list together. This is a drawing of the sides. There'll be two of them that are identical. It's got this 1/16 inch wide slot runs along the outside, and a quarter square dado that runs on the inside. This is on the outside and this is on the inside. It's 18 1/8 and 3 1/2, and the plywood is a little bit shy of 1/2 inch. Here's that side piece on our prototype. This is one of the reasons I wanted to do a prototype, is because this has some features that are a feature that I've never fiddled with before, and that is to see this slot. That's a 1/16 of an inch wide and about 1/8 of an inch deep. And the box drawer guide fits in that slot. My guess is that it's set up this way so that in the factory, the guy assembling the thing doesn't have to worry about lining up the drawer guides and all that business. But I didn't know exactly how I was going to make that slot, but I figured it out. This is the front of the box, and here's another reason why I made a prototype. I don't need that slot on the front, so I put that slot in there for no reason except to weaken the thing. And then, of course, three sides have a dado all the way around. And this is the back. That dado was cut off right there, making this 2 7/8 deep here. Okay. Then the final piece is the bottom, which is 1/4 inch plywood that is 13 inches wide and 18 7/8 long. But we have a little slop down here at the end, so that if we cut it a little long, it doesn't do anything, because we're going to staple it right along here. Okay, here's our prototype box, and here's I went ahead and cut the stock out for a real deal box. Those little parts will go something like this. But we got dados and slots to cut right now. So let's get to it. Okay, we're going to do the dado right now. It just turns out that that 1/4 inch dado exactly is the thickness of these two blades from my dado set. They're 1/8 inch. This is imperial measurements here. So I just have to take off my ripping blade here. Now on the prototype I used this for my test cut. So I'll use this test piece here as a witness board. I can set up my saw, so I'll cut in the same place as the other one. Another thing I've done is I made this tiny little spacer here, and I can see right now that I need to bring that out a little bit. It's only off by about a mile and a half. That dado right there is supposed to be about halfway through that dark part right there. Oh yeah, I tried to cheat a little bit and use that old dado, but that didn't work. This is the way you're supposed to do it anyway. You find out where you want that dado to come up in your wood. and you set it right there. And this is an interesting fact. Plywood has an odd number of layers. So there's always a center layer. And in this case, I'm going to go halfway through. So, second try. Okay, that time it came out perfect. Okay, now I'll start up my fan or my dust collection, and we'll put 4 dados. Make 4 dados. Back part of our box here is only 2 7/8 because we're going to put the bottom in there. So basically what we have to do is take this dado here and cut it out, and this will be our back. Let's go do that. Now I haven't set my saw here at 2 7/8. What I've done is just set my workpiece on it and line that saw blade where it just takes out all the dado. Next thing we're going to do, we already have the dados in our piece. But now we need to put this slot in here. Let's go over to the table saw and show you how we do that. I think this is it. It's 1/16 inch chipper blade. It's half of one of these chipper blades. The position of the dados was critical, but it isn't. What's critical is the positioning of this groove right here, because the drawer slide, it's got a little clip on it right there that goes in that groove. So if that groove is not correctly positioned, you're hosed. Okay, I have it set up and I tested it. Another way you mess up is put the groove on the wrong side. The dado goes on the inside and the groove goes on the outside. Now, if we're living right, the center line of that groove will be right at the 1 inch point. And it is. So we're living right. Incidentally, I don't know if using this small 1/16 of an inch chipper blade by itself is even safe. So I'm not recommending it. I've never heard it called unsafe, but I've never heard of even using it by itself. So it's just a disclaimer. Now I'm putting our boxes together with staples the same way they did. The difference is, a couple of differences. One, their box is made out of this particle board. And so they were driving staples, lots of them, into that particle board, which just tears it all up. Another issue is their box, not only is it particle board, but it's very thin. That is 3/8 of an inch. And on our new boxes, they're 1/2 inch. Now, since their wood is so thin, it's kind of hard to find screws to put the hardware in. So they use these tiny little cut-off screws. I don't know if you can even see that tiny little screw. It's actually a screw that's been cut off. So it just barely goes into wood. I suppose that is one of the reasons they've put this notch in here is to support the weight of the drawer. And I don't know what these screws do, but they're just barely into that particle board. And not only are they just barely into the particle board, but the particle board is so flimsy, it'll hardly hold the screw. Goes in there like that. But we're going to use, I got these regular 1/2 inch screws I'll put the hardware on with. So not only is the size of my box thicker, but it's also regular plywood, which means that I can use these long staples and they hold much better in regular plywood because the staples tend to follow the grain of the plies instead of just going every which way in that press board. So I'm putting it back on now. So I'll end up using fewer staples than they did, but better wood and better staples. Now, because they use that cheaper wood, they had to put these corner blocks in to reinforce the corners. And even there, they're not doing anything, they're loose. And what I'm doing is checking, see if this is exactly the same as my prototype. Yep, 13 inches wide. A lot of times these bottoms are put in with without any glue. The theory is if you don't put them in with glue, you know, when the wood expands and contracts and this and that, it won't break the box. Well, this wood's not going to expand and contract. It's plywood, and the bottom's plywood. So I don't think that theory applies. I think that caution is primarily for when you have solid wooden structures with solid panels. It's important that the panels be floating, but in this application, not so much. So all that is just to say that I'm going to glue this panel in. I've also checked it for square, so it should square my box. This drawer is now officially indestructible. Now I need to sort out these drawer side drawer slides. They got a natural bend to them right here. Looks like I guess that's where the drawer will, when you push it in, it'll stay closed. You can see how it kind of bends right here. So that's natural there. So I'm going to call this one good, I guess. But this one's got a twist to it. This one lost a fight somewhere because it's got a pretty bad twisting moment right down here. So I think I'll put it in a vise and try to rotate it this way. It takes some of that bend out of it. Well, this is kind of troubling here. My client tried to fix this drawer herself, and she put a couple of screws in, trying to hold the back on. Originally, the back was held, or the drawer front was held by staples, but they failed apparently. So she tried to put it in with screws. So when I take those screws out, we'll probably find something out. Kind of warming up to these slotted drawer guides. They're snapped to line up. All you gotta do is get the little groove, and it's automatically lined up. Another interesting feature of these drawer slides is that they're actually attached to the drawer front with a little bracket right here. So they're held up at the front with this screw. Then they're held all along that ridge we put in there, that little notch. And then they had those crummy little screws. I replaced those screws with some better screws. This might be overkill, but I'm going to hold this drawer front on with 6 screws. 2 would do it. But since we had problems with this thing coming off, I got to be careful here not to drive those screws too far, because it's 1.25 inches between the inner face and the outer face, and it's 1.25 inches from the bottom of my pan to the tip here. So I don't have any leeway. Well, that'll do it for Memphis Monday. What is it, 2/23? We had this bad drawer that was made out of particle board. It warped. The wood was falling apart. The door wouldn't close anymore. And what we did is we just built a whole new drawer and just attached it to that drawer front, straighten out the drawer guides a little bit. I just hope it works. Well, that does it for another Memphis Monday. Memphis Monday 2/23. Sorry about the wind. The wind was blowing this morning, and it's blowing again now, 2 o'clock. Nice little quick one-day project, but I like these little projects. You know, like when we do a shed roof, it's like we'll work on it for 2 weeks, and then I show you a video, hey, shed roof's done. You know, we don't get to go over anything. Here we get to go into a lot more detail, and it's a lot more fun for me anyway. And I like these repair projects anyway. But I think we made her a Cadillac drawer. If those drawer slides work, you know, if she got a bad drawer slide, then we just need to replace the drawer slides. But I think in terms of the drawer, I think that thing will last for 100 years. All right, so like, share, favorite, all the stuff you do on the internet. But most important, make sure you're back here next week for another exciting Memphis Monday. Thanks for playing along.